Hey guys, RetroDeath here. This is going to be a little bit different from my usual reviews, but I just wanted to go over this remaster styled remake thingy for Monster Bash. This was done by a friend of mine under Emberheart Games, and I am absolutely honored to say that I was a tester for this. It goes without saying that this is one of my personal favorite Apogee games, and one of my favorites to play in general during spooky season, which, if you're like me, is all the time, but autumn is cool too. This is going to be more of an overview of the changes and whether you should buy this remaster or not, as opposed to a full-blown in-depth review like I normally do, which will come at some point in time for Monster Bash. But I just really wanted to discuss this remake because I couldn't wait for it. Also, even though it is a remake that was pretty much redone in Unity, I am going to be referring to it as a remaster since that's basically what it is. First off, we got the main menu, and it's already off at a pretty good start. I really love this dismembered hand thing that was added with the bloody drops as it moves. It reminds me a lot of the Carmageddon cursor, and that's, I'd say, a pretty big compliment to give. I also like how the zombie's eyes just kind of follow the cursor's position. It's a small but pretty cool little touch. Johnny does look a little strange to me though. Not bad, just weird. I think it's because of the eyes, but I'm not really sure. You can adjust the options if you want. Among all of them, the sound option is what intrigued me the most. The fact that you can switch between AdLib and PC speaker is, it's pretty much for nostalgia, or people who played this previously, but it's still really cool nonetheless. And both of these bypass the number of sounds that were originally limited to, I think, 1 or 2 at a time. I could be wrong, but my point is that means that sounds can now play over other sounds. So that's pretty cool. Also added are achievements and leaderboards. While I do really like the art of the title screen, it's only taken from the first episode, and I hope sometime down the line we get the title screens from episodes 2 and 3 as well. Unlike the original that was a, typical shareware game and split up into 3 different executables, this one you can pick from all 3 of them at the very beginning. Also added to this release is this book screen. Each page has a level of the episode. You unlock more pages as you complete levels, and each page you complete will give you a small little pixel art representation of the level, as well as various goals that you've completed throughout all of your playthroughs and your highest achieved score of said level. Pick your level, which is probably going to be the first one, and you're off. Oh, also, once you complete an episode, you'll unlock a nightmare difficulty for that specific episode. This keeps the 3 hit point limit of hard mode, while also adding more enemies and removing checkpoints entirely, meaning you have to restart the entire level if you die. And you get achievements for completing Nightmare, so go for it. That was stupid. Stupido. If you played or were familiar with the original game, you'll immediately notice the graphics got a modest but impactful upgrade. All the assets are generally the same, which I think is a good thing, but the color palette's a little bit more versatile and gives some more life to the game. Also added are more weather effects like fog, more striking thunder and other stuff. Also some subtle but pretty cool details thrown in, like these worms going through the ground. And also what I feel is probably the most important change, the more distinguishable layers in the levels. The original EGA graphics the game had were great, but as a limitation it was harder to tell what was in the background and foreground. I'm not sure how many others really had this as an issue at the time, I mean, I wasn't really around when Monster Bash came out, but I was used to other stuff, so I had a little bit of an issue with it at first. Especially with the original Monster Bash, as well as other EGA games like Duke Nukem 2 and Cosmos Cosmic Adventure. In here you can tell what's where, and it makes it more fair to the player, I'd say, and it's easier to distinguish where you are and where the enemies or hazards are. Thankfully, despite EGA games being made with a lower frame rate in general, Monster Bash was designed with 60 FPS in mind, which made it feel all the more smooth. So while this remaster didn't add that, it does still feel really smooth to scroll and move around, which is great. The controls are the exact same: arrows to move, up to aim up, control to shoot, and alt to jump. Compared to other games of its kind, Johnny does feel a little bit more floaty than the average character pajama boy thing, but it's not too bad, and it's still generally similar. You just gotta get adjusted to it, because it is a little weird at first. And in this version, he does feel a little bit smoother to control than the original, which is a plus, of course. Probably the biggest change to the game was the live system being dropped. In my opinion, it makes the game significantly easier to me since you have unlimited lives and you can just pick up and play the levels whenever. But what happens now is that you get a ton of bonus points for dying less. So you can get the most points for not dying at all, then it lowers, I think, twice before you get no bonus. I'm not really sure how other fans of the game would take it. It doesn't really bother me personally that much, but it is something that I say should be noted. Then again, this game has been heavily criticized over the years for being way too difficult, and it's often the main complaint I see with the game, so it's only natural for that to be addressed and re-implemented in a different way, which I think this one was a pretty clever one. Another new addition is this compass, which points you to the direction of the nearest pet. Zombies are a bit faster than I remember, but other than that, all the enemies are generally the same. Also, the AI feels a little bit smarter. Everything always feels like they're going right after you, which is also a good thing. I don't know if that's actually been tampered with or not, but it does feel a little bit smarter. All the collectibles and everything are still in there as the original, all the same. Only difference now is that you can complete certain goals with multiple runs, like getting all the Johnny dolls, all the items, or shooting all the skulls. Or you could do all of them in a single run. You can also complete a goal of beating a level in its original par time, which is cool, and you get a bonus for that as well. Though, good luck trying to do all 4 goals in a single level run. The music and audio are all the same as they were in the original, which are both great. I personally think the music could have been like redone or remastered or something, but that's a really minor nitpick rather than a genuine complaint. This re-release also has leaderboards and a bigger incentive to get higher scores with each level. Every time you complete a level and beat your previous high score for it, it gets overwritten as your new best score. Each time you do this, the new score updates and the difference gets added to your overall score for the episode in the leaderboards. So everyone's scores in there are a sum of their highest scores on each level. And while I think having it for each individual level would have been cool too, I think it's actually better like this because it gives you more of an incentive to complete all the level's highest scores you can get, as opposed to just a few levels and calling it a day. And one of my favorite things that was added, just like the other 2 Ember Heart games on Crystal Caves HD and Secret Agent HD, this one also has its own level editor in Steam Workshop. So you can go and make and download completely unique levels that people decided to make. This is a big deal to me, even if not much of a surprise at all, because I feel it has the potential to really strengthen this game's longevity and have people coming back for more. Monster Bash was already a notoriously challenging game, so people making levels for this thing is going to be utter chaos. I'm calling it right now. So, is Monster Bash HD a worthy remaster, and should you play it? Yes it is, and yes you should. Other than everything I just went over, the game feels pretty much the same overall. If you play the game and you didn't end up caring for it, I can't really do that much to convince you other than it does feel a little bit better to control Johnny. It is much more forgiving in the brutal difficulty department, and the traps are easier to avoid due to the layered visuals that the original couldn't really pull off at the time due to EGA limitations. It contains all the greatness of the original and only improved upon it overall. So I say if nothing else, it's at least worth giving a try. I should note that if you're watching this and end up playing it close to release, it does still have some bugs. But fear not, things are in fact being done. And for the record, Apogee and Emberheart did not pay me to make this video, I just wanted to make it purely of my own free will because, you know, Monster Bash. It's pretty easy to obtain and isn't expensive at all. You can buy it on Steam and GOG for a pretty generous $8. You've got almost 30 levels to play through, each with at least 10 to 15 minutes of playtime. Plus, there's the incentive to complete all of the challenges, adding a lot of replay value, as well as the level editor and workshop content, so you got quite a bit of stuff here. And once again, really, it just improves things on the original. So all I can do is recommend it to bits. Chunky, gory zombie bits. And especially if you were a fan of Monster Bash back in the day, or you still are. Please go buy this. Support the hardworking indie studios like Emberheart Games and Apogee, and go play this thing till your hand falls off. There's very little room for regret with this good of a purchase. Just make sure you're ready for the scary action and haunting puzzles.